Hello everyone, my name is Dakoba and welcome back to Satisfactory. The coal power plant that we set up in our last episode is working great, providing all the power we need for our current factories and with plenty of room to expand. We are here today to build a modular frame factory and I'm very excited. This is going to be a fun build and I can't wait to get into it. Here in just a minute, we're going to go through the design of the factory and jump into the build. If that's what you're here for, you can take a look at the description for timestamps. Once we complete that modular frame factory, we have a couple of other tasks we want to complete today as well. We're going to go around to some of our other factories and set up sinks, which will allow us to take the excess goods we're creating and turn them into points and tickets at the Awesome Shop so we can unlock buildables and customization options to make our factories look nice. Once that's done, we're going to seek out some Caterium and do some research in the MAM to unlock the zipline, which is going to let us get around our factories a lot easier, and smart splitters, which will allow us to create more intelligent logistic networks so that we can leave our factories running and be confident that we'll always have a stockpile of goods on hand and any excess will be generating points for us in the Awesome Shop. Finally, we're going to seek out some quartz and set up a simple quartz processing plant in order to give us silica and raw quartz for signs and windows so that we can decorate our factories properly. There are also a few other tasks we may try to mix in as well. Let's get into it. All right, now our goal today is to set up a modular frame factory producing 5 modular frames per minute. And this is the design I've come up with that's going to let us do this. We start here in the upper left corner and then work our way down. Now to start, we need 120 iron ore. I found a place with 4 impure iron veins and we're going to put a single Mark 1 miner on each of those. If you're using normal veins, you should only need 2. And if you're using a pure vein, you only need 1. We're going to take that iron ore and send that into an array of 4 smelters. Those smelters will convert them into 120 iron ingots. Now we're going to split those iron ingots 3 ways. We're going to use a manifold system to pipe it into a number of different constructors. First off, we have 2 constructors set to 90% clock speed, producing screws with the cast screw alternate recipe. This will give us a total of 90 screws a minute. Then we have some iron going into 3 constructors to produce iron plate. All 3 constructors are set to 75% clock speed, which will give us 45 iron plates a minute. Those screws and iron plates are then being sent into 2 assemblers set to 75% speed in order to produce 7.5 reinforced iron plates using the default recipe. The last bit of iron is going into 2 constructors, which will produce 30 iron rods per minute, and the iron rods and reinforced iron plates are being sent into an assembler, which is overclocked to 250% clock speed to produce 5 modular frames. Now you could do the same job with 3 assemblers here, but the design for the factory I have in mind only uses 1. Fortunately, we've been collecting power slugs and have enough power shards to spare. With that design out of the way, it's time for the build. Let's get into it. and that is a modular frame factory all complete. We're pretty well sticking to the design. We're bringing up the ore from downstairs and sending 120 ore into the 4 smelters. Those are feeding a belt of iron ingots, which is circling around the outside of the factory, feeding 2 constructors on the near end for the iron rods, and then feeding 5 constructors on the far side for the iron plates and then the screws. The plates and screws are then going into a couple of assemblers to produce the reinforced iron plates, and the reinforced iron plates and rods are being combined for the modular frames. With this factory done, let's head back and see what we've got next. All right, we are back here at our smart plating factory where you can see that we've set up an awesome sink and we are sinking smart plating. We'd previously had this assembler going directly into a container. I shifted that container to the left, set it up with a merged belt so that we can continue to get smart plating from the factory and all of it gets sunk. This also allows us to use this container as a drop-off point for anything in our inventory that we have in excess. If we want to drop off some iron plates, for example, we can simply drop them in there and they will then go into the sink to give us some points, or any other component that we find ourselves in excess of. Instead of deleting it, we can simply drop it there to get some extra points. Now this has been going for a few minutes and you can see that we are already up to 30 coupons. We have not quite emptied out our storage container of smart plating. We're getting there, but we're up to 30 coupons. That's going to give us some great options for use in the awesome shop. We're going to let this continue running for a little bit while we move on to some other parts of our factory and come back and collect these up and pick out some buyables later. All right, now our next step is going to be to find some Caterium. So let's go ahead and open up our scanner. Unfortunately, we unlocked Caterium scanner earlier on in the series, and I believe there's some to the south and maybe over to the west. Let's see where it pings. Ah, yes, 600 meters south and 800 meters west. Let's head south first and see if there's anything we can do with that vein. And there it is. Now, we'd actually found this Caterium vein earlier in the series while we were doing some exploration, which means fortunately we already have power running to this part of the map. However, you'll notice that this Caterium vein has a rock on top of it. I'm pretty sure that we're not meant to be able to build here right now. However, I was playing around with it and it turns out that we can just go ahead and put a miner on top of the rock. And so we're going to go ahead and do that to get our Caterium. There is another Caterium vein just over on those waterfalls in the distance. You can barely see the falls. And right at the near end of that, there is a Caterium vein. But this one is much nicer because the factory we want to build with Caterium also requires copper. And if we poke our head just over this ledge here and down there, you can see 2 copper veins. And so we're going to have everything we need in one location, which is going to make this a much quicker factory to build. Now let's pop over and take care of that splitter real quick. Start by bridging over with a conveyor, getting out our Xenobasher. Let's see what this guy has for us. Nice and easy. All right, let's go through the design of our factory. First off, we're going to be mining 120 Caterium ore from our Mark 1 miner sitting on a pure node. That's going to go into 3 smelters where it's turned into 40 Caterium ingots. Now those Caterium ingots are then going to go into 4 constructors where they'll produce 200 Quickwire. We're going to set aside 100 of those for our own personal use in a storage container. The other 100 we'll send on. Meanwhile, we're going to be mining 50 copper ore from an impure vein. So we're going to be using a power slug to overclock this to 166.67%. That'll give us the 50 ore we need. We're going to send that into 2 smelters to produce 50 copper ingots a minute, and those ingots will then go into 3 constructors to produce 25 copper sheets. Those 25 copper sheets will be combined with the other 100 Quickwire that we're producing to produce 5 AI limiters per minute in one assembler. Now we're dividing the build of the factory into 2 parts because we actually don't have the AI limiter assembly recipe unlocked yet. So we're going to be constructing the Quickwire side of this factory first, doing that research, and then building the rest of the factory afterwards. Let's get into it. All right, and that is a Caterium factory all complete. I've been fine-tuning the clock speeds on these machines, making sure that they run perfectly efficiently. Each of the constructors here, for example, is running at 83.33% clock speed, producing 50 Caterium a minute. That'll make perfect use of the input supply we have coming in. Now, because of belt limitations, we have half of those coming into a storage container for our own personal use, and the other half going into the Awesome Sink. You can see the Awesome Sink has been working both here and at our factory. You can see where I made the adjustments to the clock speed there. But we are up to 35 coupons, and we are just about to get our next as well. And so I think we're going to have plenty of access to the buildables in the Awesome Shop when we head over there to unlock that. Now let's grab some Quickwire out of our storage container. You can see we're up to almost 1,500 already. And let's pop over to the MAM and see what we can unlock. The zip line is the thing I am most excited for. Let's go ahead and unlock that. That'll use the rest of our cabling. That's okay. We'll just have to pop over and get some more. We can also get the Mark II power pole. That's exciting. Those have, I believe, up to 8 connection points instead of the 4 from the Mark I power poles. So that's going to be a nice help for us. The Mark II power poles are going to require some steel ingredients. We need plastic for the high-speed connectors. But the AI limiters are something that we should be able to get just as soon as we get back to our starter factory and are able to pick up some additional copper sheets. Once we have that, we'll actually be able to rebuild this factory and expand our production lines here to include the AI limiter, which is going to open up the smart splitter research for us and allow us to use the smart splitter at our other factories from here going forward. All right, now doing that research in the tree has given us access to the smart splitters, but we need to produce some AI limiters first. So let's pop back on over to our Caterium factory, which we can just see there in the distance. If we zoom on in, there it is, and see how we can modify this to produce both of the resources that we can get from them now, the Quickwire as well as the AI limiters. All right, and back here at our Quickwire factory, we're going to go ahead and salvage all the production lines we've had in place. I fixed that crooked belt, and I've redone the belts a little bit to make things a little bit cleaner and more efficient. But we're going to go ahead and keep all of this. We're just going to redo the front end a little bit. We're going to tear down the Awesome Sink and move the personal storage container over to the other side and redirect the output from the near side into the assembler to produce the AI limiters. Let's get into it. All right, and that is an AI limiter factory all complete. We're sending the copper ore up from downstairs into a couple of smelters to make ingots, which then go into a row of constructors to make the copper sheets. The copper sheets then join the Caterium in the assembler to be turned into AI limiters. And periodically, we will see an AI limiter start off down the line and into a storage container. Now, this has been running for just a few minutes. I think it's producing 5 a minute. I think it's been about 10 minutes or so. And yes, 61 AI limiters all squared away. Let's go ahead and plop down a MAM and get back into the research tree and unlock smart splitters. All right, and with our stack of AI limiters, we can go ahead and unlock the smart splitter research. All right, and with these smart splitters, we can now set up our production lines here in order to overflow into our Awesome Sink when we need to. So what we can do is set up a smart splitter on this line it up. Let's see, make sure we line it up with the smart splitter directly, like so. and then run a line into there. Now what we want the smart splitter to do is send anything through and send the left output to overflow. That means that we'll just go ahead and set that to AI limiters. So any AI limiters that come down this line will pass on through and into our storage container. And when that is full and overflowing, then any resulting AI limiters will head into there. So we can demonstrate that by taking some of the AI limiters we have. And let's go ahead and just set 16 of them in there. And so these are going to fill this belt fairly quickly. Yeah, so these AI limiters are coming in as soon as this belt is full. As soon as they can't go out that side anymore, they're going to start coming out the left side and going into the awesome sink. The awesome sink is currently doing 2080 a minute. Once we get those in there, that's going to spike real quick because the AI limiters are worth quite a lot of points. About 1,000 points each. Right. All right. And we can do something similar over here on the other storage container. We can go ahead and put a smart splitter on there. Bring that down this way. Here, there, and then just do a simple merger here. And it's the same deal here. We want our center output to contain our Quickwire, and our right output in this case to be overflow. So that's anything that can't go through the center output will flow onto the right-hand side. And there you have it. So we will now fill this storage container with Quickwire, and when it's all full, any additional Quickwire this factory produces will be sunk for points in the Awesome Shop. And with this factory all out of the way, let's head on home and see what we have next. Alright, our next task for today is going to be to locate some quartz. And fortunately it's night, because that actually is going to make it quite a bit easier to find some quartz. Let's go ahead and scan for it. And I happen to know that there's none nearby. All of the quartz is quite far away. There's a little bit to the northwest there and a little bit to the northeast. And we're going to use a trick to help us identify where it is. Now we can see we found some to the northeast. If we open up our map, we can actually see where that is. And we can go ahead and zoom into it up here and drop a stamp. Now we can select that stamp and highlight it. And what that's going to do is create a beacon of light in the world. So we can see that it's up in those cliffs. All right, as we were on our way to the quartz vein, and you can see we're using some very high-tech exploration techniques here. I got very foggy. Now before it got foggy, I spotted a drop pod up here on this cliff, which is why I chose this path. I wanted to see what's up here. We also got a big hog up here, so we need to be careful around him. Now this drop pod requires 2 motors and 20 megawatts. Now the 20 megawatts is easy. We can simply set up a biomass burner and provide that, but we don't have motors yet. So we can create a new map marker at this location and set the marker title to be what the drop pod requires. So we can say that it's a drop pod that requires 20 megawatts and 2 motors, for example. And this will mark this location for us. And so now when we decide to go hunting for hard drives again, we'll have that note there for what this location needs. Let's pop on up to the quartz veins up here and see what we've got. You'll notice I did not turn on Creature AI. All right, we are up here and we've been getting the lay of the land. We found a lizard doggo, a large plasma splitter, so we're going to want to have to clear him out. And then 2 normal quartz veins, which are going to suit our purposes just fine. I would have liked if they were pure, but 2 normal ones are just fine. This is likely not going to be our permanent quartz setup for that reason, and also because I happen to notice that there is a large pool of water just through there. And so a little later on, we'll be able to sort of maximize these veins. Quartz is quite a rare resource, and we'll want to be able to do that. So I think we're going to go ahead and set up a really simple factory here, turning each of these veins into their respective products, silica and raw quartz. Let's get into it. All right, and that is a quartz factory all complete. You can see that we're mining the quartz from the 2 veins, sending that into a pair of constructors downstairs, which are producing quartz crystals and sending that into a storage container. And then the rest of the raw quartz is being sent upstairs into 3 constructors using a overhead scorpion belt system to provide for the outputs to go into another storage container where we're storing our silica, and the watchtower is there to give us access to that upstairs container. Now, I think that is the last build we had for today. So I'm going to wrap up these factories real quick with some quick decorations and designs. And I think that is where we will leave it for today. I'd like to thank you guys for taking a few minutes out of your day to spend some time with me in the world of Satisfactory. I hope it's made your day just a little bit better. Leave a like if you've enjoyed this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more. As always, my name is Dakoba, and I hope you have an efficient day. I'll see you soon.